Alright, so a couple of days ago, Season 12 started, and with it, we got a new hero, the nerfs to a few heroes and feats, some map changes, and quite a few other things. Now, as usual, since a few days have passed, I just want to give my first impressions on the new hero, as that's what I've been focusing on this whole time. Keep in mind, this hero just came out, and there's no way that we'll all know exactly how to play or fight against the character in the best way. And since these are first impressions, I apologize if I bounce around from one subject to another. As always, if you do watch these videos somewhat regularly, I'd really appreciate it if you sub to the channel, as it really helps me out. Now let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Alright, let's start off with the one thing that I think we can all agree on. The presentation for Zhanhu is spot on. Whether you like his style or not, we've got to agree that it's well done. I really like so much about the way this hero looks and moves. I'm halfway through Rep 5 right now, and I've liked almost all of the armor that I've received so far. The weapons, of course, are a little basic for right now, but all the body and head pieces look good so far. They're varied and unique, and I really like how the material colors work. The way the character moves is punctual and fluid. To me, it looks cleaner than the last two heroes we received. I even like the way the character stands. I like their stance, and the way the transition into attacks and dodges work. It all looks good. But my absolute favorite thing about this hero, the one thing that I like more than anything else about this hero, is that they seem to have their own responsive dialogue. It's something that works so well with this hero, and I'm not just talking about their voice lines, you know, the things we're used to when playing this game, where your hero does a certain attack or gets rezzed or activates a feat. Zhanhu speaks while moving along the battlefield and has different voice lines that they blurt out upon encountering situations. I'll show you some examples in a bit, but I've heard quite a few. There are lines for when you and Zhanhu are staring at each other in a duel and no one's attacking each other. There are times when you encounter an enemy and they'll say something, or when they're surrounded they'll say something. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I have no idea what she's saying, but I know that she's talking shit and I love it.
你还不够看，你还是有见无眼，真没用。接招吧，有见无眼。 没用的东西，有见无眼，受死吧！别让我等太久，别犹豫了。
Now, this does give me a bit of hope, as this currently is the only hero who does something like this, and I'm really hoping that Yubi is working on this for every hero again. If you're new, a while ago Yubi was working on something called the responsive dialogue system. And with it, Yubi's goal was to give everyone these new voice lines that would activate in certain situations, for example, when encountering an enemy or something like that. The problem was that the voice lines weren't all that good. Don't get me wrong, there were some really good ones in there, but all of them were not created equal. If Yubi is just testing these out with Zhanhu, the green light is lit, and they should go ahead and do this for the rest of the heroes. As long as the voice lines are in their native language and don't deter too far from what we're used to, that would be an awesome addition to the game. Now onto the fighting. Gameplay wise, I'd sum this hero up in one sentence. He's alright. I like the idea, and I have been enjoying my time with the hero so far. There are times while using this hero where you feel so smooth and the animations lend into that, but there are also times where I wish this hero had a few more things that I feel would just benefit his playstyle. Keep in mind, I play on PC and I haven't touched console since the season began. First off, the unblockable lights are just as expected. They're not that big of a deal. They're not too hard to deal with, and if you get hit with it, you get hit with it. They don't hurt too bad. The whole finisher mix-up thing works for the most part, at least for right now. It's the question of, is this dude about to throw out his unblockable light, unblockable heavy, zone, feint the heavy, or is he gonna dodge out of his recovery from whatever he started with? It really isn't too bad to deal with, and you're not eating too much damage if you guess wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if they sped up either of the finishers a bit, as it will work somewhat in the same way. I wouldn't really mind it. Now, the heavy finisher is alright, but if I'm going to be honest with you guys, I really wish it had wider hitboxes. The left side is cool. It swings wide and it'll hit people the way you expect it to, and it reaches a bit further to the right than I expected it to. But man, that right side finisher is something else. I don't know what's wrong with it, but sometimes it decides that it doesn't want to hit anyone. I don't know if this is by design or not. There have been times where I've had an opponent's back against the wall and threw out the right unblockable, and the blade feels like it just goes right through them. It bends space and time to avoid the opponent. The top one, I understand. It's a top unblockable. It's not going to swing wide, and you'll use it if you're ganking or doing something where you don't want to smack your teammates out of whatever they're doing. But that right side is something else. While I'm talking about finishers, I do really wish that we could cancel our finisher recoveries with a dodge. It just seems like something this hero should be able to do, and really would lend into that limitless theme that Yubi was talking about during the reveal. Whenever I throw out a finisher, I really feel like this character can dodge to cancel the recovery, but then I'm instantly reminded that I can't. I'm sure it's something that Yubi thought about while putting the character together, as he is a dodge attack specialist and is supposed to be able to flow into all of these things, so maybe they thought it was too safe or something. Regardless, I'd really like to see it. The dodge attacks themselves aren't too bad to deal with either. I know that a few people were annoyed that they were 400 milliseconds, but they're not too bad to deal with, especially since they start 400 milliseconds into the dodge. The forward dodge lights are also 400 milliseconds, but they can start at 200 milliseconds and goes to 500 milliseconds into the dodge. And I sort of wish his side dodge attacks were like that too. Sure, you can choose which side you want to throw the attack out from, but a few days in, people are already getting the hang of picking a side and parrying. If they choose wrong, they'll eat 14 damage. If they choose right, they'll get a parry and get around 30 damage or more depending on who you're up against. If it's Lawbringer, you're eating 50. And I only say this because you'll be using these dodge attacks to get into your chains. That is, if you don't intentionally whiff. And the only other way to get into your chains are a pretty standard 500 millisecond light, a regular old heavy, and then a 600 millisecond zone attack. Speaking of the zone attack, I know that some of you guys will disagree with me on this, but I would actually like if it was faster. I like the fact that it hunts people down and that it hits so many people around you. But if it was faster, again, I feel that it would make the hero feel much more fluid to play. It would allow you to get to that recovery cancel a bit faster. Sometimes I really want to use this move while being outnumbered, or if I'm feeling frisky, throw it out in a 1v1. But if the opponent is in range, it's pretty easy to block or even parry. If someone target swaps it to me, since it isn't that fast, it's pretty easy to react to. If it were faster, it would also be a better option select, but I care more for it being a little safer to throw out mid-chain so you can utilize the dodging more. Now onto the feats. I don't really have a problem with the feats. As expected, all of his base feats are unique to him, and they all revolve around fire in some way. They're not too crazy, they don't hurt too bad. The cooldown on his tier 1 and tier 2 are pretty quick. I believe they're 45 seconds apiece, so that you can use them pretty frequently. His tier 3 is pretty situational, as your opponent needs to be on fire for it to work. The problem with that is, the only way to set people on fire in this game, other than with his feats, are with the fire environmentals that are spread out across the map. In this season alone, I think 2 of those were removed. So you need to use either your tier 2 or tier 4 to get any use out of your tier 3 if there isn't fire around already, or if your teammate doesn't have a feat that sets someone on fire. I still use tier 3 just because longbow has a really long cooldown, and I set people on fire with tier 2 anyways. Speaking of tier 2, I have 2 questions for Yubi. 1, why can this feat trigger defensive abilities? Do you know how many times I've been flipped by Black Prior because I had the nerve to throw an actual explosive at him? I've been flipped while I wasn't even near him because I set it down somewhere and they saw it and flipped me just because they could. And also, where are these things going? I don't know if Zhanhu needs glasses or something, but there's like a 20% chance that these things are going off target if you're locked on to someone. I do wish there was another way for Zhanhu to set people on fire though. This video will be flagged for that sentence, but I wish there was a part of his kit that set someone alight. I've been seeing people suggest that they use his counter blow, you know, his bash off of superior block, and honestly, I think that'd be a really cool idea. His tier 4 is actually pretty cool. I know some people don't like it, but I really do. It's just so chaotic and it really scatters up team fights. If you have another Zhanhu on your team and you both do your tier 4, there's like nowhere to walk without taking fire damage, and it's even more chaotic if you guys have your first 2 feats. The rest of his feats, other than his unique ones, aren't that great. There's Bounty Hunter in tier 1 that's pretty good, but the rest aren't really too good. Also, don't you guys think that Firebow would have been fitting for, you know, the fire hero? Anyways, that's all I've got for this video. I just wanted to talk about this hero really quick. It probably sounds like I don't like the hero, but I do. I've been enjoying my time with them. I just think that they need a little more to be what he can be, because believe it or not, I do enjoy having strong heroes in this game. Let me say this before I go, since I'm still seeing comments about it to this day. The Centurion rework is not ready yet. Ubi is still working on it, as they want to make a few more changes, and they want to ensure that they don't introduce anything to the game like infinite combos, and make sure that everything is working properly before they release it. Anyways, I do want to know what you guys think, so be sure to talk to me down in the comments about anything we talked about in this video. If you want to talk about the game, or honestly just hang out, feel free to join our Discord. There's a lot of really cool people in there, and I've been pretty active recently. A link will be in the description. And as usual, if you liked the video, be sure to leave a like and sub if you're new, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.